Good morning, everybody. I'd like to call the meeting to order. If you can rise, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a quorum here. All directors are here and present. For minute's sake, Katie, I'd like to start with you. I just need a roll call of staff that's in the room, please.
Katie O'Grady, Martin Aguero, Johnson Smith. No. What? Cliff? Huh? Cliff Schmidt, Mike. Put me on the spot. Don, Russ, Pat, Todd, and Marie, and Carl.
And Pete.
And Pete. And Bill. And Bill, of course.
I appreciate that. We recognize the general manager. Thank you very much. There is a quorum present. Our workshop minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to them from our last meeting? Seeing none, they'll be adopted as published. Governing board recognitions. Roberta Davison, please.
Today we have two outstanding governing board recognitions to award. Our first recognition goes to Cliff Schmitz, who performs interior and exterior building maintenance on rec center facilities. Cliff clearly suggested the use of expanded mesh to prevent woodpeckers from making holes on facility building walls. It has been an incredibly successful approach that solved an ongoing conundrum. It also happens to look great too. Cliff's idea has literally saved the rec center thousands of dollars in repair costs. Cliff, we thank you for your innovative thinking and problem solutions. Congratulations. Our next award is a commendation recognizing Mike Patina from R.H. Johnson Facility Maintenance, whose quick thinking and courageous actions curbed a potentially dangerous, life-threatening situation. While working one evening, Mike happened to see a truck in the Johnson lot that had flames coming out from underneath. The driver lifted his truck hood and saw that his engine was also on fire. Mike immediately jumped into action. He ran to get a fire extinguisher, called 911, and acquired a second extinguisher, all in the span of a few quick thinking minutes. Mike, the driver of the vehicle, and a good Samaritan citizen were able to control the blaze until the fire department arrived. Mike's quick reaction and subsequent level-headedness in dealing with the emergency clearly limited property damage and possibly injury. Our sincere appreciation goes out to Mike Patina. We honor his heroics today.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Roberta. Appreciate the hard work. These are the people that do things behind the scenes, and we're glad to recognize them. Jim Young, we have a consent agenda for you.
Yes, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Any opposed? So ordered. Reports of the committees. Sue, you're first up tonight.
I'd like to report on the Sports Pavilion and Bowling Standing Committee. We meet every other month, and our work this year has been a bit sad because Barry Hardesty has had to report that our usage of the sports pavilion and the revenues that usually come forth are down about 40%. Also, of course, due to the COVID restrictions. But we're hoping that when we open up, that things will come back to normal, and we'll be having a lot of usage in that area. We have identified that the bowling fees and the rates for the next fiscal year will remain the same as this year. The other thing that the committee has been working on since last year was a plan to create a gathering place and a spot for games like the darts and other kind of virtual games that people might be interested in, a place to kind of hang out. That was presented last year and then withdrawn because of COVID not allowing us to gather. It didn't make much sense to have a gathering place when we were not going to be doing any gathering. So this year, it has again been put on hold due to concerns about whether or not we will be open and to what degree next year. So we're hoping that that'll come to fruition at some point. We have one more meeting this year in April, and that will be virtual. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Appreciate that. Next up, report for committee, Donna Maloney, Charter Clubs, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Charter Clubs Committee virtual meeting was held on Tuesday, February 9th. The preliminary overall 50K plus capital budget was reviewed by the committee and recommended to move forward. Committee goals for the year on capital projects and financial responsibility, virtual meetings, club membership, and membership participation are now complete. Kudos was expressed to the committee. The updated RRMPs are on the website, and club books will be available shortly. Areas to be discussed in the future may be groups within clubs, a multi-purpose room, club loans, and club use for profit. Our next meeting is March 9th, 9 a.m., and at this time will be virtual. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Appreciate that. Next, we have our monthly staff presentation. Staff, each one of our areas takes the opportunity on a monthly basis to give us a overall high-level view of what they do and what they represent. This month, it's Human Resources. Marie, it's all for you.
Thank you. I'd like to give you a quick overview of HR. Yes? How's that? Better? Good morning. Quick overview of HR. Human Resources is the management of employees of an organization or association in this case. Many of us might remember it as also being called personnel. The human resource management process consists of planning, attracting, developing, and retaining employees of an organization. Our human resource department consists of Raquel, which is our HR clerk, Marie, which is our HR assistant, and myself, the HR officer. We do provide administrative services, HR knowledge, training, and management advice to support our managers in their roles. These are some of the main functions of HR: administration, benefits and compensation, employee recruitment and selection, employee training and development, employee and labor relations, safety and risk management, strategic planning, and legal compliance. We try to focus on delivering the highest quality HR service to our employees, our managers, and our directors. And we continually try to seek new ways to improve our services. In administration, we provide guidelines for workers to follow while on the job, and we handle the related record keeping. So, for example, we track benefits eligibility, oversee performance reviews, exit interviews, and the termination process. Service awards and disciplinary action represent additional administrative tasks, and we also we also reply to unemployment claims filed by previous employers. Job descriptions are prepared and periodically reviewed, and our travel reduction program, which is mandated by Maricopa County, is also handled by HR. Compensation is an essential function of the department, and we try to strategize for Sun City West and make us a competitor in the labor market, which in turn should assist us in attracting some of our best qualified applicants. Employee benefits is a package that obviously includes compensation, but also healthcare coverage, paid time off, and other extras such as retirement savings and tuition assistance. In our benefits administration, besides the medical, we also have dental, vision, life, law, and disability coverage. We have an annual open enrollment that gives employees the opportunity to elect or change their benefit selections. Employee recruitment and selection. This helps us determine our staffing needs and our requirements. It includes posting job vacancies, screening applicants, providing guidance to managers on hiring decisions, and organizing the final stages of the vetting process for employees. We process the I-9s, conduct background checks, may make reference calls, schedules drug testing, and prepares written job offers, and coordinates new employee start times. Training and development responsibilities begin with our new employee orientation, and we have periodic legal compliance training that is also developed for our employees. Employee and labor relations function includes activities such as employee recognition and reward events, identifying workplace issues, investigating employee complaints, and ensuring we comply with employment laws and regulations. Safety and risk management, OSHA, I think everybody's familiar with them. We are obligated to compile information about any workplace injuries or fatalities. Thank you, Katie. We then provide that information to OSHA as a compliance issue for federal regulations. And our strategic planning, we have our own strategic plan, but we want that to sustain what Sun City West as a whole, as an organization, likes. And we also want to understand and follow our core values. Legal compliance, that starts from the employment process, job postings through termination. We have federal and state laws that dictate our labor practices, our minimum wage, our required record keeping, safety and health training, and some leave benefits. So for example, if we fail to verify employment eligibility through the I-9 form, that would put us at risk for fines from the government. And another example is protecting employee privacy rights. That's outlined in the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, which necessitates us keeping any medically related documents separate from their personnel files. Here's our HR dashboard. Now these numbers are effective as of January 2021. We have a total number of 467 employees, 277 part-time, 190 full-time, 340 male employees, 127 female. Our average age of employees is 62.6, and our average service years of employees is 7, which is pretty good. So we have two current HR trends, and COVID-19 should not be a surprise to anyone. These are some of the administrative issues that COVID-19 has impacted us. In 2020, we had 50 employees taking a COVID leave, whether that was for their own illness or a family member, or childcare issues when childcare was closed and schools were closed. In 21, so far, we have 32. Hours paid out was the 1,900. Wages paid, 34,000 plus, which is an average hourly wage of 17.81. So just a little tidbit of information. I don't know if anyone knows what COVID stands for, but the CO stands for corona, the IV stands for virus, the D stands for disease, and the 19 is the year that it was first identified. Another current trend, which we have talked about, is the Prop 207 that passed in the fall, the Recreational Marijuana Smart and Safety Arizona Act. This impacts our members as well as our employees, and we will continue with our current employment policies and procedures. We enforce our drug-free workplace policies with respect to recreational marijuana. We can still drug test for marijuana and illegal drugs with the pre-employment and on-job injuries, and we can still discipline and terminate employees that have marijuana in their system while at work. Questions?
Thank you, Marie. Round the table. Sharon, any questions?
Yes, in regards to the marijuana one, the last slide that you showed, how does medical marijuana fall into that category for as a legal drug rather than illegal drug?
So marijuana, whether it's medical or recreational, we have to look at a few items for our employees, and one of them are if the employee is in a safety-sensitive position, i.e. driving company vehicles.
Right.
If they had a medical marijuana card, most likely what we would do is try to find another position for them, for our liability, mainly.
Thank you.
Roberta? Ann? Sue? Donna?
No questions.
Bob? Jim?
Yeah, do we have, I didn't catch it if you did, but do we have anybody working from home on computers?
Yes, we do.
How many, roughly? 1, 10, 20?
I would say probably at least 10.
Okay.
And it's not consistent, but we are trying to minimize the number of employees in the workplace that can still provide their job remotely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. Any questions from staff? No? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Bill, you're up next with a COVID update.
And board members, thank you very much. Back to what Marie was talking about, a little COVID-19, here we are in 2021. It's been a while. So, looking at the mortality rate by month in the state of Arizona, there's the last 10 years. As you can see, it's a pretty average trend until you get to 2020. So you see a bit of a jump when it comes to the mortality rate within the state, and we can thank COVID for that. Moving on, Katie. This is the latest graph that we've assembled based on COVID cases reported via our zip code here in Sun City West. And as you can see, leading up and through January, we started to climb pretty high. The good news on this portion, I think we have peaked, and I think we are on a downhill trend as we speak. So that's good news for us. You may have read a couple of letters to the editor where we get specified as far as making independent decisions as far as how this COVID thing goes, when clubs open, when clubs close, and rec centers and those types of things. We, as the association, have I think, a pretty good and highly qualified COVID council that we use in conjunction with the local medical administrators and that type of thing. So we rely a lot on the health department and the sciences behind this thing to kind of guide us as far as recommendations go as to how to help administer this program through our association and handle the residents here with a age population, average age of about 74 years old. So Arizona Department of Health is really who we've been relying on now for the last year, a little over a year, regarding our decisions. So when things get bad, they're recommending that we close facilities, obviously, and the graphs and the numbers that were presented a little bit earlier got us to that level. And we abided by those just as a recommendation, and from a safety precautionary measure, we've implemented the closure of gyms and fitness centers. So as things improve, which they certainly have, things change. This was us, I believe, back in January when we were peaking, and as you can see, or maybe you can't, I don't know, there are little 10% lines in each of these little columns that depict the safety limits or the recommended areas for moderate or substantial spread of this virus. And once these numbers are above that 10% line, various measures were to be recommended to take place, i.e. closures. As we move forward, as of last week, one of these benchmark numbers had dropped below the 10% mark. And so when all of those numbers were above 10%, that automated closure. And now we are in a situation, now we're back open 25%. And I was informed by George this morning, because these numbers change every Thursday, that 2 of these benchmark columns now are below 10%. So good news there. Recommendations are still out there. Please wear a mask if you're indoors, those types of things. But we reopened our facilities, as you well know, on February 22nd. Vaccines have helped. So they have been distributed to several million people across our country, and several 100,000 within the state of Arizona. Age limited, and as things improve and more vaccines become available, more shots will be distributed. And we have reached out to the health professionals, be it Maricopa County and Banner, allowing them to please consider us a source. If we can do anything at all to help with the administration of these vaccines, we'd certainly like to utilize some of our grounds here, our parking lots and whatnot, to provide a point of distribution. And so really the ball is in their court. And I think, unfortunately, that, you know, it comes down to supply and demand. And right now, I think the supply that they have, they're not ready to expand any of their pods yet as far as distribution sites. But if and when that happens, we are more than willing and able and ready to assist. So that's where we are as far as the COVID process today. You know, fortunately, I think today is rather good news compared to some of the past months' presentations that we've been talking about this virus. So things are getting better. And I think people are behaving and understanding what it takes to kind of get behind us on this thing and doing the right thing. So thank you for your time.
Bill, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions come in from multiple people wanting to know when we're opening for guests and this and that. What I'm going to do is request them to call directly to you guys for what the rec center is on this.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Each one is slightly different, but most of them want to know my guests are coming, because we all know very well in March and April, it is the high time for people to want to visit here. I don't know if it's because of the weather, but you know, just I'll forward these. I'll let them forward them to you. So you
certainly
know.
has a lot to do with it, and I will just say at this point in time, we are communicating with a lot of the retirement communities around us.
Right.
They similarly have the same guest policy that we do at the moment, which is no guests, and that really stems from the fact that we're only opening at 25 and 50% levels. So we want to make sure that the owner members are served as a priority, as opposed to filling the house with guests from out of state and other places. So as things improve with the benchmark numbers, we will be adjusting that as we sit down with our committee and talk to the health folks and Sun City Grand, and all the other retirement communities around us.
I appreciate that. I just wanted to make sure that the members who have put in a question heard that we are addressing it, and it comes directly from the operational side. So just so you know about that.
George, we have one
yeah.
additional slide on the screen. I think that points to one of the reasons we're not eager to bring guests into this community with the demographics we do have. So just wanted to point out that last slide.
I apologize, Katie. I forgot about that last slide, but again, pictures tell a pretty good story. But looking at the flu deaths in the United States comparatively over the last 10 years, compare that to COVID, as far as that goes, that's a pretty telling picture.
Overall, I think that the association done a great job in something that nobody was prepared for, and nobody knew what the outcome was. And when you look at it, has it been a year? Yes. But along the way, we have learned quite a bit about how we can treat things in the future and how we know what our people can do. And kudos also goes to the community for being part of it and taking it personal responsibility and being good about that. Bill, thank you very much. New business.
Don't we get to ask questions?
No. You want questions? Jim, go ahead. I'll give you some questions.
Thank you. That's very nice of you. Bill, I know that you have a crystal ball. Do you have a guess when you, based on the numbers and so forth, when you may be able to get to 50%?
Excuse me, based on the numbers today that came out that George just shared with me, I didn't have a chance to look today, but 2 of those benchmarks have now dropped below 10%. And I would think as soon as the state changes that red code from substantial to moderate is the trigger.
So it's not in our ballpark, it's in the state's ballpark.
Well, it is ours because the state is just basically, Department of Health is just making recommendation.
I see.
And we've been following that,
I
just
understand.
from a safety perspective. But as soon as that switch flips from substantial to moderate, then we're back up.
Thank you.
And Jim, to that point, we also have, as the association, we have, and I'm going to say the word wrong, attestation document that we have to fulfill in order to remain open. So that's part of what they meet on. I know the COVID group meets Thursday afternoons here, our task force that is part of the association, and then they recommend what they're going to do. And I have to give them kudos because every Thursday as these numbers change, they've had to change on a dime instantaneously and move forward. That's why it usually goes to a Monday. But there's another portion of that a lot of our association owner members don't realize. It is part of an attestation document. I can't say that word. I don't know why. Bob, you got anything? Donna?
No.
Sue? Ann? Deborah? Sharon? Okay. Thank you very much. Going on to new business, we are going to have a Roberta Davison motion. Motion for F805. Please turn your mic on. Sorry, neither can the YouTubers.
Been a while. This is the smoke-free environment that our attorney reviewed in light of the marijuana proposition. And this is redlined by our attorney, and I move that the governing board adopt it as redlined.
So, Roberta, you're making a motion to approve this as the attorney has written it?
Correct.
Okay, is there a second to that? Second by Sue. Okay, discussion. Jim? Bob? Donna?
No.
Sue? Ann?
Has your committee approved this?
Yes, we did.
Sharon? Okay, we'll go forward. Hearing no objections, because it's a change of our policy, I'd like a roll call vote on this, please. Sharon? Roberta?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Bob? Yes. Jim?
Yes.
Unanimously carried. Thank you very much. Okay, the next thing is 6.02 Capital Request Greenhouse Project. This is going to be scratched from our agenda this week because it's part of the upcoming budget. The next 2 items are for our discussion, and please realize these are preliminary questions. Carl is not going to go through a presentation, either is Pete. This was both done at the BNF. This is for just questions that go along with this. And I'm just going to go first with capital expenditures. Jim?
Yeah, I have, first of all, I like the budget process. I think you guys have done a great job overall. There are 2 items on here that I am not in favor of, and I don't know how to go about making motions to get rid of them, and I'm not going to do it yet. I do want to.
Jim, just so you know, these are no motions. These are questions that are going to go out there, and what we're going to do is on the 5th at our workshop. On some of these items, there's going to be some other additional information is going to be brought forward on them. So whether they're going to remain here or not will really be handled on the 5th at the workshop. But I wanted the board to have the opportunity to question Carl and Pete on anything that they had questions on.
Well, it isn't a question, it's an observation.
Okay.
The observation is that I don't think we need to enclose Beardsley area. It's been here before, and I think it's a waste of time, money, and effort. We have other things to do, and until we get the planning process done, I'm not in favor of it. The other one that I think is way, way too early is the pickleball. First of all, have we analyzed, or do we have numbers on when, in the past, when we had programs, large programs, wasn't that parking lot full? Can somebody answer that?
I will say yes.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Time of day, but that type of analysis is being conducted as we speak, and
Okay.
that will be presented part of the workshop. And then for the next 30 days, as we assess what's presented in this preliminary budget, we'll address all those. Absolutely. So any ideas or concerns that you do have, that's what we're trying to accomplish here today, so we can further address.
Well, the other thing is that I don't think that pickleball has proven that they need it, expansion. We certainly have other clubs that have been through properties that have indicated needs rather than wants, and this is certainly a want in my opinion. And I just think it's way, way premature, and I don't think it should be in there. Anyway, that's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Bob?
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Just along that lines on pickleball, the only thing that I was confused, but of course at our age, that's very easy to do. Couple of the things that I saw in here, where was the pickleball expansion they're talking about? For some reason, I saw a diagram in here about it being at Kuntz. Was that wrong?
I think they put out a dissertation of multiple sites.
Yeah, because
So-
that Kuntz one, look, that's like taking over the whole darn area. But anyway, I just wanted to get that clear in my mind.
That's what it's there for. Okay. Thank you. Sharon?
Have we looked at electric carts for the golf carts under the Clean Air Act and in purchasing those? You have 10 new golf carts. Somebody has them on, I think it was on yours.
Thank you, Pat.
As far as replacing our carts with electric, we have a small fleet, and gas carts gives us the ability to use those carts twice in one day, while electric, the battery denigrates over years, and with the replacement of batteries coming over $1,000 for each one of those carts, gas gives us the luxury of being able to use these carts more frequently.
Okay, so have we looked at the newer carts that have the 90 hours on each one of the batteries as well?
Yeah, the lithium is what's coming out now, and
Right.
there's not enough study on that, on how well those are going to last.
Okay,
But down the road, if they become a viable option, we'll look at that.
thank you.
Just a
Thank you.
comment. We don't even have electric in the barns, do we?
Some barns we do, but not all of them.
Thank you.
Sharon, anything else?
I'm sorry, what do you mean by the electric? You mean a plug?
We have no place to plug them in.
The barns may not have the electric service in order to compensate to plug in electric carts.
Okay, but the new carts require, just as a comment, I believe the ones that I've checked at least have a regular plug. You don't need something special to plug it into anymore. Yeah,
It's,
so we don't have electricity at the buildings, is what you're saying?
We're saying, yeah.
That's, I'm just asking. Thank you.
no problem. Roberta?
I guess I'm confused.
Good job. You're promotable.
If we're not going to have the discussion about pickleball and other issues about around it until the board meeting, properties meets the day before.
Okay. Well, if you would like to not have your properties meeting, that's fine. I would think that the work that they're doing statistically would probably help you make a better decision after the fact.
On the 5th?
On the 5th, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
No problem. That's your call. You're the chairperson. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I've been told what to do often. And? Okay. Sue?
Yes, I concur with some of the same things that have already been said with I concur with the ideas that have already been brought up, and so I think that we're a little premature with the pickleball issue until we get more information. And also, I don't really understand the full purpose for the amount of money for the Beardsley enclosure. I went over there the other day and thought, well, it'd be nice, but I might personally prefer that we use that money to solve some of the other club issues that we did not finish from the previous years. But I also, in addition to that, have a question on why we're spending $89,000 on treadmills and cross trainers being replaced when we've had a year where we have hardly been using all of that equipment. So I understand that it's on a cycle, but we've hardly had those exercise rooms open. So maybe someone could shed some light on that. Pete?
I'll double check, but that question was posed to Dave.
Okay.
Already, you don't know this, but in my time, the equipment was replaced on 4-year cycles with each
Yes.
rec center. And what we've uncovered was that the 5-year capitalization policy would make sense to line up the expenditure in terms of accounting principles would be better served in that manner than the way we were doing it before. And so I can't absolutely assure this, but I'm almost sure that it was delayed by a year already to get it onto the 5-year cycle. So we're not running up against just because we had a downtime in the last calendar year.
Okay. Because I know we spent a good amount of money to equip Kuntz last year. In fact, much more than the $89,000. So that's why I have that question. The other concern that I have is the parking lot at Kuntz and the lighting. And I know that that is due to be replaced. I'm wondering if it would be wise to hold off on that and put that, if we could put that back a year and use that money in a different way to solve our final club issues that are out there. So, you know, I can understand that we don't want to have that go too far, and we'd like to finish it up. But if we're going to be doing some things over there, you know, maybe that enters into the conversation. And that's, you know, that's a large amount of money. That's, you know, what, the $380,000 plus $150,000 for the lighting. So that would be my question, if that could be pushed back a year and put to some other concerns instead. So those are my questions.
Thank you.
So, Carl, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah.
Very good question, Sue. I'd like to say that all asphalt is on a repair and placement schedule. All of our asphalt has various looks to it, but has met their useful life of a minimum of 25 years, and most of our asphalt is 30 years or older. Our reserve study asset tool has placed the savings for that, all those replacements on a schedule, and that money is available and already set aside for those areas. So by pushing out into a later schedule for anything but, you know, if we were in a, like this COVID situation where we deferred the parking lot to make sure that we were at a safe level of finances, all you're doing is impacting your costs the next year. So inflation just makes the next year, every year, more expensive. The timing of the parking lot for Kuntz had already been juggled and brought forward so that it could be accomplished and get that parking lot into its best condition, which is new and is crumbling in a lot of locations. And we traded that with the R.H. Johnson library lot, and we have pushed that off because it's exceeding its useful life. So we do make that estimation each year on our parking lots. If I can get another year or two out of a parking lot and it's safe, then we do make that determination because the money's already been saved and set aside. The last portion of the timing on the lighting of that is at the time that we tear out parking lots, we have an opportune time to make sure that all the repairs to wiring and conduit for lighting is done at the same time. Otherwise, it's an inefficiency. I'd have to tear up asphalt to do that. And Coons happens to be our last parking lot requiring the new LED program for energy conservation. So those are the reasons I would like to keep it on that schedule. And if you have any other questions, go ahead.
Okay, I understand that, and of course you would want to do the lighting at the same time. It makes perfect sense. Thank you.
I'd like to weigh in on that.
Just
Carl, you make good sense except for one thing, and that is that we aren't using these facilities for the past year. We haven't used them the way we've used them before. So they're on the schedule when we. In other words, when we have 200 cars parked on a lot, that wears out the lot more or faster than when we have 10. And we've had 10 the last year rather than 200 or whatever the number is. And so if you push the whole thing back, to me, you're not doing it. I don't know. That's my comment. And I think Sue has some good points.
thank you, Jim. Donna?
I have no further comments.
Okay. One of the things we've heard banded around often, and has to go with these capital projects, is that we've been struggling to get to a master plan and a group. And one of the things that I'm going to do today is I'm going to create a special committee. It's going to be chaired by Harry Stenenbaum, incoming director, and it's going to be for a master plan committee. They're going to look at what facilities we have, what our needs are, and what our financial goals are going forward. Harry's going to be represented. There'll be 2 directors, 2 people from staff, and 2 people from the community, and he'll select those with Bill's consent, of course, on that. So that is going to be one of the things we have talked about, master planning, and they'll report back to us with a comment and question that will be the governing board in May. So give them time to work on these things, and they are going to be fact-finding. They're not going to go out there and say, we want to change the glass or anything like that. They're going to fact-find that. I've already consulted with Harry, and Harry is more than happy to chair that committee. With that, no more other capital expenditures. Yes, Ann, you're not allowed, you were asked once, not twice.
I know I was asked once, but I did want to reiterate to the board that when this was presented last week at the Budget and Finance Committee, Carl can tell you he got quite a lot of questions, didn't you, on this? And we had some of the very same concerns that Sue and Jim have voiced about the Beardsley enclosure. There were lots and lots and lots of questions about pickleball. We have seen the greenhouse project also, and we've had a lot of questions on that one. I did want to tell you that even though we voted to move it forward, it was unanimous by that. It was mainly because they knew that the board would be slicing and dicing it even further. But there were a lot of good questions that I felt came from my committee.
That was a 2.5-hour meeting that was absolutely a great budget meeting. They actually asked the really hard questions, not the superficial ones, and it was a great job. And Carl, I will just mention too, great job on the capital project side. This is, I know, it's a long process, and I think a lot of times people think it happens, I want this, and next week it comes and jumps onto the paper. It is a long, drawn-out process, and especially when they talk about building or updating facilities, when you have the county and all improving an architect, there are a lot of things that go into that, and I want to just thank you for a great job on that.
Thank you.
Next one is our 5-year budget plan. You guys seen it with Pete? Oh, I'm sorry, Sharon.
Originally, when I came on the board in July, I'd asked if I could be part of the master plan committee.
Sharon, I'm sorry, I don't understand you.
I said when I originally came on the board in July, I asked if you were going to put a committee or someone together about the master plan, I've asked if I could be a part of that committee, so I'm requesting that again.
Okay. Sharon, I'm sorry, I just couldn't, I'm sorry.
It's okay. When I came on the board in July, one of the requests that I made was if I could possibly be on the master plan committee, if there was going to be one presented. So I would like to be a part of that if possible.
All you have to do is ask Harry. He's the one who's making that choice. Okay. Harry Stenenbaum. Okay, 5-year plan. Sue, you want to start on the 5-year plan, or you want me to go on? You covered it under the 50.
Okay, so I guess that I didn't have any specific questions on that.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in. One of the things, sometimes I like to wait until the end, but first off, there's a lot of great things that were in the 5-year plan. I think Pete and the accounting people and the staff did a great job. First off, the budget is the general manager's budget. We approve it, and that's the important part on that end. But I'm very happy to say that there is no no association due increase for the current year that is projected out there. There were 2 small increases that were on there. One was for APF fees for people moving in as a binded community, and the other one was golf cart. The rental golf cart was going up $1. Other than that, across the board, there has been no change in fees for the upcoming year. And what the general manager did when you saw it out there, he asked everyone in the departments to go across and look for a 3% cut in their expenses. And the departments came through with flying colors on that. They did a great job on that. With that, I have to say, I've seen a lot of budgets in my time. This is probably one of the most interesting piece that goes along with it. I had an owner member who contacted me who asked some questions directly about percentages, and it was very satisfying to be able to look at the budget and be able to give them very distinct and very line item answers, not in the nebulous cloud that goes along with it. And Pete, kudos to your group on that one. Jim, you got any questions about the 5-year plan? Bob? You don't put that on the record. Whatever you do, don't ever put that on the record. Roberta, Sharon, Ann.
Well, I will go on the record of saying I agree with Jim, and I want to tell you all that the Budget and Finance Committee looked at this very closely last week also, and we were very pleased with what we saw. I will make one small correction to our president. I believe there is an increase for guest fees for those over 18.
Yeah, that was proposed. That wasn't.
That's
it's all
proposed.
proposed, and you are exactly right.
Yeah.
Those highlights always get me in the way. I'm sorry.
But great budget.
What's that? It's old age. You're exactly right. Donna?
Good job. Nothing
Sue?
else.
No questions.
No question.
Well, thank you. And once again, on the 5th, when we get through with the 50,000 and the digging into this, the 5-year budget plan, if there's any corrections, additions, deletions, or whatever, Pete will make that so it's available for review on 30 days. Hopefully with the COVID numbers, we'll actually have open forums on this, believe it or not, and we'll go on from there. Nothing else on that. Next thing, strategic goals. You see it up in front of you. Goal number 1 was steering committee determined the scope of work complete for community master plan. It has been lagging behind. We have gotten to the point with the assignment of the committee and the goal we'll be able to move that forward. Staff revised budget process on a timeline. I think our budget is moving along extremely well. Not only that, but it's also very open to our residents. One of the things that when you're on the board here, the transparency of the finances is something we should really tout to be a high thing. The other ones you can see accordingly. I'm not going to go into each one, and they're available for you. With that, Director Board comments. I'm going to start with Donna.
No comments.
Oh, I like that. Ann?
No comments.
Sue?
Just a thank you to the staff for the great job in presenting the budget. Thank you very much.
Very good. Sharon? Roberta? Bob? Jim? That's good. Once again, I cannot thank the staff and the board that I serve with on there. A couple things that we have to do is I have remote guest questions that I have to handle before we adjourn. One question, I have to go through them. There are quite a few, which I'm really impressed with. Outdoor activities, meaning this, Dan and Claudia, please refer that to the general manager. Nora Vandemeter, Nora, also refer that to general manager. It's about guests. This is, I'm just going to, Carol, yours is again about opening and guests. That is referred to the general manager. We have someone who has a problem with our flag at Beardsley that does not go all up the flagpole. Russ, can we make sure that's taken care of? Thank you very much. Another question was, is the governing board pondering adding cell towers for 5G? That's not something that is in our realm or our area. That is a carrier, not us. And I have Ed, please contact Todd about your forecasting. And let's see. Helen, excuse me. Helen's question is, why did our rec center dues go up last year when services were sharply curtailed? I would ask you to contact our budget and finance department, Pete Finelli's area. They'll be happy to answer that as in detail as possible. And with that, staff, do you have any other comments or questions that you'd like to place on the table? No, Russ. 5 years coming here? 5G's coming here? Okay. That's what Russ has spoken. It's the gospel. Going around, anything else? Bill, anything else for us? Pete?
You know, this question gets posed, the one that you're going to forward to me. I still probably hear our membership respond at least once or twice a day. So the more that you're, as a governing board, can respond to that, the better. To harken back to this time a year ago, two items that made up the materiality of the increase was the minimum wage mandate last January 1st of 9.9% on over 275 of our part-time employees. Another $50,000 increase occurred in our casualty experience, even though we had no loss rate. It was just the national market. So those two combined had the almost overwhelming effect upon the dues increase. It had nothing to do with, what's commonly referred to for, closures and all that kind of stuff. Those expenses maintained.
Okay, thank you, Pete. Anything else? Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I will adjourn the meeting at 9:54. Our next governing board workshop will be on the 5th at the Social Hall East, and our next regular meeting is the 18th. Thank you.